Jake Morrison stared at the green lights dancing across his computer screen as alien voices filled the small research station. The year was 2387, and humans had finally built their first deep space outpost beyond the solar system. Jake worked alone on research outpost Kepler 442b, listening to radio signals from across the galaxy. His job was simple: record everything and send reports back to Earth. What he heard today would change everything. The alien voices spoke in dozens of different languages, but Jake's computer translated them all. The galaxy was not empty like humans thought. It was full of life, and that life was afraid. "The Korthic Empire has spoken," said one voice that sounded like grinding metal. "All weak species must be removed from the galaxy. Only the strong deserve to survive." Jake leaned forward in his chair. The Korthak were the rulers of the galaxy, and they were not kind rulers. They came from a world called Zirion Prime, where volcanoes erupted every day and acid rain fell from the sky. Their thick armor-like skin protected them from dangers that would kill most other beings in seconds. They had ruled the galaxy for 300 years because no one could challenge them. "We support the final culling protocol," said another voice, this one sounding like breaking glass. These were the Vorthani, crystal beings from a world with gravity so strong that normal creatures would be crushed flat. They lived in constant radiation that would cook most life forms alive. A third voice joined them, buzzing like angry insects. "The Zephyrians agree. Weak species consume resources that belong to the strong. They must go." The Zephyrians came from a planet where the air itself was poison. They breathed gases that would kill other beings instantly. Their insect-like bodies could survive in places where even machines would break down. These three species formed the Deathworlder Alliance. They controlled 47 star systems and made all the important decisions in the galaxy. They called themselves Deathworlders because they came from planets so dangerous that other species considered them death traps. Jake listened as the three species planned their genocide. They would start with the trading worlds, then move to the farming planets, and finally eliminate every species they considered weak. The galaxy would belong only to those who could survive the most extreme conditions. "What about the garden worlds?" asked the Korthic leader. "Should we bother with them at all?" "Garden worlds produce nothing of value," replied the Vorthani. "Their soft inhabitants cannot even survive basic environmental challenges. Leave them for last. They pose no threat." Jake felt his stomach turn cold. Earth was classified as a garden world by galactic standards. The aliens saw his home planet as a place where only weak creatures could live. They thought humans were so pathetic that they were not even worth killing quickly. The computer beeped softly as another transmission came through. This one was different. The voice was gentle and musical, filled with desperation. "This is Prime, Coordinator Lithara of the Altarian Collective. We call upon any species capable of helping us. The Deathworlder Alliance has given us 30 days to abandon our worlds or face complete destruction. We have nowhere to go. Our people are peaceful traders and farmers. We have no weapons that can challenge the Alliance. If anyone can hear this message, please help us. We do not want to die." The message repeated several times, then faded into silence. Jake stared at his screen for a long moment. The Altarians sounded desperate and afraid. They were asking for help, but who could help them? The entire galaxy was terrified of the Deathworlder Alliance. Jake pulled up the galactic database on his computer. The Altarians were tall beings with pale, almost transparent skin. They had advanced minds and could speak to each other without words. They lived on beautiful worlds with flowing water and gentle weather. They had never hurt anyone. They traded goods and knowledge with hundreds of other species. Now they were going to die because the Deathworlders wanted their resources. The database showed that 47 other species had already been destroyed by the Alliance. Each one had been peaceful. Each one had begged for help. None had received. The galaxy was ruled by fear. Jake looked at his hands. They were shaking. He had joined the research program to study alien life, not to watch genocide happen. But what could he do? He was just one human on a tiny outpost. Earth had no military ships that could travel between stars. The human government had a strict policy of not interfering with alien affairs, but the Altarians were going to die. 47 species were already dead. How many more would follow? Jake made a decision that would change galactic history. He opened a new communication channel and began recording a message. "This is Jake Morrison of Earth responding to the Altarian Collective. We have received your request for help. Earth stands ready to assist peaceful species against tyranny. We will not allow genocide to happen while we have the power to stop it. Send us your coordinates, and we will find a way to help you." Jake's finger hovered over the send button. Once he pressed it, there would be no going back. Earth would be involved in galactic politics, whether his government wanted it or not. The Deathworlder Alliance would learn that humans existed. They would discover that Earth was a garden world full of weak creatures who dared to challenge them. But Jake thought about the Altarians dying alone and afraid. He thought about the 47 species already destroyed. He thought about the galaxy ruled by fear and violence. He pressed send. The message traveled across space at the speed of light, carrying with it the first challenge to the Deathworlder Alliance in 3 centuries. Jake sat back in his chair and waited for the response that would bring humans into contact with a galaxy that had no idea what they were dealing with, not far away on Earth. Alarms began to ring in government buildings as computers detected the unauthorized transmission. The human race was about to learn that they were not alone in the universe, and that the universe was a much more dangerous place than they had imagined. The galaxy was about to learn that some garden worlds grew more than pretty flowers. The message from Jake Morrison reached the Altarian homeworld after traveling through space for 3 days. Prime Coordinator Lithara was in the middle of an emergency council meeting when her communication officer burst into the chamber. "Coordinator, we have received a response to our distress call," the officer said, his transparent skin glowing with excitement. Lithara felt a flutter of hope in her chest. "Which species has answered? Are the Centaurians finally willing to help us?" "No, Prime Coordinator. The message comes from a species called humans. They claim to be from a world called Earth." The council chamber fell silent. Lithara accessed the galactic database through her mental link. Earth appeared on the screen as a small blue world in an unremarkable star system. The classification made her heart sink. "This is impossible," she whispered. "Earth is listed as a garden world. Garden world species cannot survive conflict with Deathworlders. They must be making a mistake." Her military advisor, a tall Altarian named Kethron, shook his head sadly. "Perhaps they do not understand what they are offering. Garden world. Inhabitants are peaceful creatures who have never experienced true danger. They probably think this is some kind of diplomatic dispute." Lithara read the message again. The human named Jake Morrison sounded sincere, but sincerity would not stop Korthic plasma cannons or Vorthani energy weapons. Garden world species were physically weak, mentally fragile, and completely unprepared for the realities of galactic warfare. "Should we respond?" asked her communication officer. "We must," Lithara decided. "Even if they cannot help us, we should warn them about the dangers they face. The Deathworlder Alliance will not tolerate interference from any species, no matter how weak." Meanwhile, on Earth, Jake's unauthorized message had triggered a massive crisis in the human government. President Lisa Chong stood in the emergency briefing room deep beneath the White House. surrounded by her top advisors. The room was filled with screens showing star charts, alien communication logs, and analysis reports. "Let me understand this correctly," President Chang said, her voice tight with controlled anger. "One of our researchers has just declared war. On behalf of the entire human race, without consulting anyone?" General Robert Hayes, head of the Global Defense Initiative, nodded grimly. Jake Morrison sent an unauthorized response to an alien distress call. His message commits Earth to military action against something called the Deathworlder Alliance. Dr. Amanda Foster, the chief xenobiologist, stepped forward. "With respect, Madam President, this might be the most important moment in human history. We have discovered that the galaxy is full of intelligent life, and that life is being systematically exterminated by a group of hostile species." Defense Secretary Paul Chun slammed his hand on the table. "We know nothing about galactic politics or military capabilities. For all we know, this could be some kind of test or trap." "The communications appear genuine," Dr. Foster argued. "I have been analyzing the alien transmissions for the past 72 hours. Galaxy operates under a hierarchy based on planetary survival ratings. Species from dangerous worlds dominate those from safer environments. They call themselves Deathworlders." President Chang studied the data on the screens. "What do they think of Earth?" "Earth is classified as a garden world," Dr. Foster admitted. "According to their system, that makes us one of the weakest species in the galaxy." The room erupted in angry voices. General Hayes demanded immediate military preparation. Secretary Chun insisted on diplomatic contact with the alien governments. Dr. Foster pleaded for scientific study before any action was taken. President Chang raised her hand for silence. "What exactly are we dealing with? Give me facts, not speculation." Dr. Foster activated a holographic display showing the 3 Deathworlder species. The Korthic Empire rules the galaxy. They evolved on a world of constant volcanic activity, acid rain, and deadly predators. Their bodies are naturally armored, and they can survive in environments that would kill most Earth life instantly. The display shifted to show the Vorthani. The Vorthani come from a high-gravity world bombarded by cosmic radiation. They are crystalline beings who can manipulate energy directly. Their planet would crush human bones and cook human flesh in minutes. Finally, the Zephyrians appeared on screen. The Zephyrians breathe poison gas and live in atmospheric conditions that would corrode our equipment. They have insect-like bodies that can function in temperatures that would boil water. "These are the species that want to commit genocide?" President Chang asked. "Yes, Madam President. They have already destroyed 47 peaceful civilizations. They believe only the strongest species deserve to survive." General Hayes spoke up. "What weapons do they have?" "Plasma cannons energy, shields faster than light travel, and 3 centuries of military experience," Dr. Foster replied. "They have never been defeated in battle. And they think we are weak garden world creatures," President Chang mused. "Completely harmless," Dr. Foster confirmed. The president was quiet for a long moment. "Dr. Foster, I want you to assemble a team to study every piece of alien technology we can find. General Hayes, prepare our deep space fleet for possible combat. Secretary Chun, draft a response to the alien message that commits us to nothing but keeps communication open." "What about Jake Morrison?" General Hayes asked. "Leave him where he is. He started this situation, and he might be the only human who understands it." 3 days later, on the Korthic homeworld of Zerion Prime, Supreme Chancellor Vexthul received a report that made him laugh. The sound was like rocks grinding together in a metal crusher. "A garden world species has threatened us?" he asked his intelligence officer. "The report is confirmed, Supreme Chancellor. A human from Earth has promised to help the Altarians resist the final culling protocol." Vexthal armored hide rippled. With amusement. Earth. I remember that classification. A water world with comfortable temperatures and breathable atmosphere. The kind of place where soft creatures hide from real challenges. Should we ignore them, Supreme Chancellor? No. Send War Captain Gorthic with a single scout ship. Have him demonstrate to these humans what happens when garden world species interfere with Deathworlder business. Make it quick and educational. War Captain Gorthic received his orders with pride. His ship, the Bone Crusher, was a masterpiece of Korthak engineering. Its plasma cannons could melt through any known material. Its energy shields had never been breached. Its crew was trained from birth to fight and die for the Empire. The journey to Earth would take 2 weeks at maximum speed. Gorthic spent the time studying the human homeworld and reviewing standard procedures for dealing with garden world species. The protocols were simple. Demonstrate superior firepower, demand immediate surrender, and eliminate any resistance quickly. Garden world species were predictable. They lived in comfort and safety, never facing real challenges. When confronted with actual danger, they would panic and surrender immediately. The few who tried to fight would be so weak and clumsy that destroying them would be almost boring. As the Bone Crusher approached the Earth's solar system, Gorthic prepared for the easiest victory of his career. He had no idea that he was about to face a species that had survived ice ages, global wars, and natural disasters that would have wiped out most galactic civilizations. The humans were waiting for him with Captain Steve Allen commanding the ESS. Endeavour, Earth's first deep space combat vessel. When Gorthic sent his traditional surrender demand, Captain Allen's response was brief and confusing. You picked the wrong planet. Gorthic had never heard such words from a garden world species. He was about to learn that Earth grew more than pretty flowers. It grew survivors. The space battle between the ESS Endeavour and the Gorthic scout ship began like nothing War Captain Gorthic had ever experienced. He expected the human vessel to either flee in terror or attack with primitive weapons that would bounce harmlessly off his shields. Instead, Captain Steve Allen did something completely unexpected. The Endeavour split apart. What Gorthic thought was one ship turned out to be dozens of smaller vessels, held together by magnetic clamps. Each piece moved independently, surrounding the Bone Crusher like a swarm of angry insects. The Gorthic captain fired his plasma cannons at the largest piece, only to watch his shots pass through empty space as the human ships scattered in all directions. What kind of cowardly tactic is this? Gorthic growled to his crew. His weapons officer, a young Gorthic named Vekvar, studied his instruments with confusion. Sir, I cannot lock onto any single target. They are too small and moving too fast. Then destroy them all, Gorthic ordered. The Bone Crusher's plasma cannons began firing in all directions, filling space with deadly energy beams. But the human ships moved like they were alive, dancing between the shots with impossible precision. Every time Gorthic thought he had one targeted, it would suddenly change direction or speed, making his weapons miss by inches. Then the humans began to fight back. Instead of energy weapons, they used something the Gorthic had never seen before. Kinetic projectiles. Thousands of small metal slugs fired from dozens of directions at incredible speed. Each slug was tiny, no bigger than a human thumb, but they struck with the force of meteors. The Bone Crusher's energy shields were designed to stop plasma beams and energy weapons. They had never been tested against solid objects moving at near light speed. The first few hundred slugs were absorbed without damage, but as more and more struck the shields, something unexpected happened. The shields began to flicker. Sir, our shield generators are overheating, Vekvar reported with growing panic. That is impossible, Gorthic replied. Our shields have never failed against any weapon. The humans are not using weapons, sir. They are using mass drivers. Pure kinetic energy. Our shields are designed to disperse heat and energy, not absorb physical impact. The shield generators exploded in showers of sparks. Without protection, the Bone Crusher's armored hull began to buckle under the constant bombardment. The tiny human projectiles punched through the thick Korthic armor like it was made of thin metal. "Return fire with everything we have," Korthic ordered desperately. His crew tried to obey, but the human ships were everywhere at once. They moved in patterns that seemed random, but were actually coordinated with mathematical precision. Every time the Korthic weapons fired, the humans had already moved somewhere else. Captain Allen watched the battle from the bridge of his command module. His crew worked together with a kind of efficiency that only came from years of training and natural human adaptability. Lieutenant Karan Price coordinated the movement of 37 independent vessels. Commander Rick Johnson controlled the targeting systems for 600 kinetic weapons. Chief Engineer Mary Bell kept all the ship's systems running at maximum efficiency. "Korthic ship is losing power," reported Lieutenant Price. "Their weapons are cycling down." "Multiple hull breaches detected," added Commander Johnson. "They are venting atmosphere." Captain Allen nodded. "Signal the Korthic vessel. Tell them to surrender and prepare to be boarded." War Captain Korthic stared at the surrender demand on his screen. In 300 years of Korthic military history, no enemy had ever captured one of their ships. The very idea was unthinkable. "Sir, we must respond," Tekvar said quietly. "Our life support is failing. We cannot continue to fight." "We are Korthic," Korthic replied through gritted teeth. "We do not surrender to Garden World species." "Sir, respectfully, these do not behave like Garden World species." Korthic looked at his ruined bridge and dying crew. Everything he had been taught about galactic hierarchy was wrong. The humans had defeated him using tactics and weapons that no Deathworlder had ever imagined. They moved like they were born in the void of space, fighting with a coordination that seemed impossible. "Send the surrender signal," he ordered, the words tasting like poison in his mouth. On Earth, the news of the victory spread like wildfire. President Chang addressed the world from the emergency command center, her voice filled with pride and determination. "My fellow humans, today we have proven that Earth will not stand by while innocent beings are murdered. The Korthic Empire sent a warship to destroy us, and we have captured it instead. This is only the beginning of our involvement in galactic affairs." Dr. Foster led a team of scientists aboard the captured Korthic vessel. What they found challenged everything they thought they knew about alien technology. The ship's computers contained detailed information about galactic civilization, including the locations of hundreds of worlds and the capabilities of dozens of species. "The galactic classification system is fundamentally flawed," Dr. Foster explained to her team. "They measure planetary danger by environmental extremes, not by environmental complexity. Earth scores low on their scale because we do not have constant volcanoes or radiation bombardment." Dr. Kevin Wright, her chief physicist, nodded as he studied the alien data. "But look at what we deal with every day. Temperature variations of 60 degrees Celsius between seasons. Atmospheric pressure changes that would disorient most species. Weather patterns that shift without warning. Thousands of microorganisms that our immune systems handle routinely. And that is just the physical environment," added Dr. Martha Graham from the biology department. "Humans live in social groups with complex hierarchies, competing ideologies, and constant change. We adapt to new situations as a matter of survival." The captured Korthic crew was held in a specially constructed facility where they could survive in Earth's environment. War Captain Korthic refused to speak to his captors for 3 days, but eventually his curiosity overcame his pride. "How did you defeat us?" he asked Dr. Foster during one of her interviews. "We use the same tactics humans have used for thousands of years," she replied. "Adaptability, cooperation, and the ability to think creatively under pressure. Garden. World species are not capable of such things," Gorthic insisted. "Earth is not a garden world by any meaningful definition," Dr. Foster said. "We live on a planet where conditions change constantly. Our weather systems move across continents. Our seasons alter the entire environment every few months. Our day and night cycle forces us to adapt to light and darkness every 12 hours. Gorthic thought about his own world, where the environment never changed. The volcanoes always erupted in the same places. The acid rain fell in predictable patterns. The dangerous predators lived in known territories. Life was hard, but it was consistent. Your world sounds chaotic," he admitted. "It is. That is why we are so good at dealing with chaos." News of the human victory reached every corner of the galaxy within days. The Altarian Collective could barely believe the reports. The Vorthani Collective began to question their alliance with the Gorthic Empire. The Zephyrians demanded an explanation of how a garden world species could capture a Deathworlder vessel. Zarian Prime, Supreme Chancellor Vexthol, raged in his palace chamber. The loss of the Bone Crusher was more than a military defeat. It was a challenge to everything the Gorthic Empire represented. "Gather the full battle fleet," he ordered his military commanders. "We will travel to this Earth personally and demonstrate. What happens when garden world species forget their place in the galaxy?" General Korthvin, his chief military advisor, hesitated. "Supreme Chancellor, perhaps we should study these humans more carefully before committing our entire fleet." "The humans defeated one scout ship through trickery and luck," Vexthol replied. "They will not survive the full might of the Gorthic Empire." As the largest fleet in galactic history, assembled around Zerion Prime, the Altarians made a decision. That would change everything. Prime Coordinator Lithera sent a message to Jake Morrison at his research station. "We are sending our remaining ships to help defend Earth. It is time for the galaxy to learn that garden worlds can grow warriors." The recognition war had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. The massive Gorthic fleet approached Earth's Earth system like a moving mountain of metal and death. Supreme Chancellor Vexthul commanded 50 capital ships, each one capable of destroying a planet's surface. His force included 300,000 of the galaxy's most feared warriors, weapons that could melt continents, and enough firepower to conquer entire star systems. General Patricia Brooks watched the approaching fleet from the bridge of the ESS Constitution, humanity's flagship. She commanded a hastily assembled force of human and Altarian vessels hidden throughout the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. The human ships were small and fast, built for the kind of warfare that had defeated the Bone Crusher. The Altarian vessels were graceful and elegant, designed for peaceful exploration, but now armed with weapons of their own design. Kodak. "Fleet will reach engagement range in 6 hours, reported Commander Lisa Park from the sensor station. "They are maintaining standard battle formation." "Standard for them, maybe," General Brooks replied with a thin smile. "But they are not fighting a standard enemy." The battle plan was unlike anything in galactic military history. Instead of meeting the Gorthic fleet in traditional formation combat, the human ships would scatter throughout the asteroid field, using the rocky debris as both cover and ammunition. The Altarians would provide electronic warfare support, jamming Gorthic communications and sensors while the humans struck from multiple directions. All ships. This is General Brooks. Remember, we are not trying to destroy their entire fleet. We are trying to change their minds. Make them understand that the galaxy is bigger than their empire. On the Gorthic flagship, Supreme Chancellor. Vexthul studied the human defense preparations with contempt. The enemy ships were hidden among the asteroids like frightened animals. They showed no pride, no honor, no willingness to meet their enemies in proper battle. "They fight like cowards," he announced to his bridge crew. Garden World species have no understanding of warrior culture. War Master Gethrin, his military advisor, nodded agreement. "We will crush them quickly and then burn their homeworld as an example to the galaxy." "Begin the assault," Vexthal ordered. "Show them the true meaning of power." The Korthic fleet moved into the asteroid field with plasma cannons blazing. Their energy weapons turned Space Orcs into clouds of superheated gas, clearing a path toward the inner solar system. The display of firepower was meant to terrify the humans into surrender. Instead, the asteroids began to move. What the Korthic thought was random debris turned out to be carefully positioned ammunition. Human ships with powerful magnetic fields grabbed chunks of rock and metal, accelerating them to incredible speeds before launching them at the Korthic vessels. The asteroids struck with the force of nuclear weapons, crashing through energy shields and smashing into armored hulls. "Sir, the asteroids are attacking us," reported a confused Korthic weapons officer. "Asteroids do not attack," Vexthal replied. Angrily, "Find the humans and destroy them." But finding the humans was impossible. They moved through the asteroid field like fish through water, using the debris as cover while they repositioned for the next attack. Every time a Korthek ship tried to target them, they would disappear behind a rock only to emerge somewhere else entirely. Commander Lisa Park led a boarding party against the Korthic cruiser Bloodfang. Her team of human Special Forces soldiers moved through the ship's corridors like ghosts, their environmental suits allowing them to function in the hostile atmosphere that would kill most galactic species. The Korthek defenders were larger and stronger than the humans, but they were slow and predictable. They fought in formations that had worked for centuries against other Deathworlder species. The humans fought like they were born in chaos, adapting to each new situation with frightening speed. "They are everywhere at once," reported a panicked Korthic warrior over the communication system. "How many of them are there?" 12, Commander Park replied over the ship's internal speakers. "Just 12 humans. Now surrender your ship before we take it by force." The Korthic crew stared at their instruments in disbelief. 12 humans had infiltrated their ship and were systematically capturing it section by section. The humans moved through areas that should have been impossible to survive, adapted to defensive measures that had never failed before, and fought with a coordination that seemed almost supernatural. War Captain Morthak, commander of the Blood, Fang, made a decision that would have been unthinkable hours earlier. He surrendered his ship to Garden World species. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out as human tactics proved superior to Korthic firepower. The humans did not fight like other galactic species. They used the environment as a weapon, turned their enemies' strengths against them, and adapted to new situations faster than their opponents could respond. The Altarians provided crucial support, their advanced minds coordinating the complex battle while jamming Korthic communications. Prime Coordinator Lithara personally led an attack on the Korthak command ship, her vessel dancing between plasma beams with impossible grace. "Supreme Chancellor," she broadcast on all frequencies, "your empire has ruled through fear for too long. Today the galaxy learns that there is another way." But the most important battle was taking place in the medical bay of the most ESS Constitution. Dr. Foster worked to save the life of a wounded Korthic prisoner using human medical techniques that the alien had never seen before. The Korthic warrior, a young soldier named Kethvar, watched in amazement as the human doctor fought to preserve his life. "Why are you helping me?" he asked weakly. "I am your enemy. You are a living being in pain," Dr. Foster replied as she worked. That makes you my patient, not my enemy. Kethver had been taught that humans were weak, soft creatures who could not survive real challenges. But this human was working in an environment that would kill most Korthik in minutes, using tools and techniques that seemed almost magical, and doing it all to save the life of someone who had been trying to kill her. I do not understand your species, he admitted. We do not understand yours either, Dr. Foster said with a gentle smile. But that does not mean we have to kill each other. The battle raged for 6 hours before Supreme Chancellor Vexthul realized the truth. His mighty fleet was losing to a force 1/10 its size. Human ships captured Korthik vessels with boarding parties that seemed to appear from nowhere. Altarian electronic warfare turned his own weapons against him. The asteroid field itself had become a weapon in human hands. Supreme Chancellor, War Master Gethran reported with defeat in his voice. We have lost 17 capital ships. The humans are requesting our surrender. Vexthul stared at the tactical display in shock. In 300 years of Korthik military history, they had never lost a single major battle. Now they were being defeated by Garden World species, using tactics that no Deathworlder had ever imagined. How is this possible? He whispered. The answer came from an unexpected source. Chancellor Zifri of the Vorthani Collective appeared on the communication screen, her crystalline features reflecting the light of distant stars. Perhaps, old friend, we have misunderstood the nature of survival, she said softly. These humans do not survive by being the strongest. They survive by being the most adaptable. The final moment of the battle came when President Chang herself appeared on all communication frequencies. Her message was broadcast to every ship in the Korthik fleet, every world in the galaxy, and every species that had lived in fear of the Deathworlder Alliance. I am President Chang of Earth, and I speak for all humanity. We did not choose this war, but we will finish it. The galaxy belongs to all intelligent species, not just the strongest. We offer you a choice. Continue fighting and lose everything, or join us in building a better future for all. Supreme Chancellor Vexthul looked at his defeated fleet, his captured ships, and his broken empire. For the first time in his life, he considered the possibility that strength was not the only path to survival. The recognition war was ending, but the real change was just beginning. The neutral space station orbited a dying star, its metal walls glowing with heat that would cook most galactic species alive. Inside, a single chamber had been constructed for the most important combat in galactic history. Supreme Chancellor Vexthul waited in the center of the room, his massive armored form radiating confidence despite his recent military defeats. Dr. Amanda Foster entered the chamber wearing a simple environmental suit that seemed laughably inadequate compared to the Korthik's natural armor. The entire galaxy watched through broadcast feeds as the human scientist faced the most feared warrior in known space. This is madness, Vexthul said, his voice like grinding stone. You are a Garden World academic. I am a Deathworlder champion, trained from Earth to fight and kill. Why did your species choose you? Because this is not really about fighting, Dr. Foster replied calmly. This is about survival, and survival is what humans do best. The chamber's environmental controls began their deadly cycle. The temperature dropped to -40 degrees Celsius, cold enough to freeze most species solid. Vexthul's thick hide protected him from the cold, but he noticed that Dr. Foster continued to move normally, her suit's heating system adapting to the new conditions. Impressive technology, he admitted, but technology cannot replace natural strength. The temperature suddenly jumped to 80 degrees Celsius, hot enough to cook flesh. Vexthul felt comfortable in the heat, his body designed for the volcanic world of Zerion Prime. He expected the human to collapse from heat exhaustion, But Dr. Foster simply adjusted her suit's cooling system and continued to study him with scientific curiosity. "You are built for extremes," she observed. "Your body handles intense heat or cold very well. But what happens when conditions change rapidly?" As if responding to her words, the chamber's gravity increased to 3 times normal. The crushing weight would flatten most species, but Vexthul's dense bones and powerful muscles were designed for such challenges. He moved forward to attack, expecting to end the combat quickly. Dr. Foster moved aside with fluid grace, her suit's servos compensating for the increased gravity. She had trained for this moment in Earth's most extreme environments: the deep ocean, the highest mountains, the hottest deserts, and the coldest polar regions. Rapid environmental changes were not a challenge for her. The chamber shifted again, this time flooding with a poisonous gas that would kill most life forms in seconds. Vexthul's respiratory system filtered the toxins naturally, but he was amazed to see Dr. Foster's suit adapt instantly, switching to internal air supplies while neutralizing the poison. "How are you doing this?" he demanded, swinging his massive claws toward her. "I grew up on a planet where the environment changes constantly," she replied, dodging his attack with practiced ease. "Humans adapt to new situations every day. It is what we do." The gravity reversed, sending both fighters floating toward the ceiling. Vexthul struggled with the unexpected change, his heavy body not designed for zero-gravity combat. Dr. Foster moved like she was born in space, using the chamber walls to change direction and maintain perfect balance. "This is impossible," Vexthul roared. "Garden world species cannot survive such conditions." "Earth is not a garden world," Dr. Foster said as she maneuvered around his clumsy attacks. "We live on a planet where ice ages come and go, where continents drift across the surface, where asteroids fall from the sky. Our weather systems move across the globe, bringing storms, droughts, floods, and hurricanes. Every day on Earth is a test of adaptation." The chamber's atmospheric composition began to change, cycling through different gas mixtures every few minutes. Vexthul's specialized respiratory system could handle some of the changes, but not all of them. He began to struggle as his body fought to adapt to conditions it had never encountered. Dr. Foster's suit analyzed each new atmosphere and adjusted accordingly. She had studied the atmospheric conditions of hundreds of worlds, and her equipment was designed to handle them all. Where Vexthul's body was perfectly adapted to one specific environment, her technology was adapted to thousands. "You are cheating," Vexthul accused, his breathing becoming labored. "I am using the tools my species developed to survive," she replied. "Just like you are using the body your species developed to survive. The difference is that humans learn to adapt to change itself." The final environmental shift brought the chamber to Earth normal conditions: moderate temperature, standard gravity, and breathable atmosphere. Vexthul expected to gain an advantage, but instead found himself more confused than ever. His body, designed for extreme conditions, did not know how to handle normal ones. Dr. Foster removed her helmet, breathing the chamber's air naturally. "This is what humans call a pleasant day. Not too hot, not too cold, just right for a walk outside." "But there is no challenge here," Vexthul said, his voice filled with confusion. "How does your species grow strong without constant danger?" "We create our own challenges," Dr. Foster explained. "We climb mountains for fun. We dive into deep oceans to explore. We push ourselves to run faster, jump higher, and think more clearly. We do not wait for our environment to test us. We test ourselves." Vexthul stared at the human scientist with growing understanding. His species had become strong by surviving in one harsh environment. Humans had become strong by learning to survive in any environment. They were not specialists like the Deathworlders. They were generalists who could adapt to anything. "I yield," he said quietly, the words echoing through the chamber, and across the galaxy dot, the surrender of Supreme Chancellor. Vexthul marked the end of the Deathworlder Alliance's reign of terror. Within days, the galactic political structure began to collapse as species after species declared their independence from Deathworlder control. President Chung addressed the reformed Galactic Council from the chambers on the neutral world of Kepler. Station. Representatives from hundreds of species listened as she outlined humanity's vision for the future. "The galaxy has been ruled by fear for too long," she said, her voice carrying to every corner of known space. "We propose a new way forward, based on cooperation instead of domination. Each species has unique strengths that can benefit all of us. The Korthik are master engineers who can build in the most hostile environments. The Vorthani can manipulate energy in ways we are only beginning to understand. The Altarians have minds that can process information at incredible speeds." The new galactic government was called the Adaptive Alliance, and it operated on principles that would have been impossible under the old system. Instead of a rigid hierarchy based on planetary danger ratings, the Alliance valued diversity and flexibility. Species were judged not by their ability to survive in extreme conditions, but by their ability to contribute to the common good. Jake Morrison, the researcher whose unauthorized message had started the entire conflict, became the first human to serve as a galactic mediator. His job was to help former enemy species find new roles in the changing galaxy. The Korthik became the Alliance's primary engineering force, using their natural abilities to construct space stations and planetary installations. The Vorthani became energy specialists, developing new technologies that benefited all species. The Zephyrians used their chemical knowledge to advance medical research and terraform hostile worlds. Dr. Foster was appointed as the first director of galactic adaptation studies, leading research into how different species could work together more effectively. Her work focused on understanding the strengths and weaknesses of each galactic civilization, finding ways to combine their abilities for mutual benefit. The transformation was not without challenges. Many Deathworlder species struggled to accept their new roles, having been taught for generations that strength was the only measure of worth. Some tried to resist the changes, leading to small conflicts that tested the Alliance's resolve. But the humans had learned something important during their brief but decisive war with the Korthik Empire. They had discovered that the galaxy was not as dangerous as it appeared. The Deathworlders had seemed invincible because no one had ever challenged their basic assumptions about survival and strength. Captain Steve Allen, the hero of the first space battle, was given command of the Alliance's first joint exploration mission. His crew included humans, Altarians, reformed Korthik, and dozens of other species, all working together to explore the unknown regions of the galaxy. "We have spent so much time fighting each other that we forgot to look outward," he told his diverse crew as their ship prepared to leave known space. "There are entire sections of the galaxy we have never explored, phenomena we have never studied, and possibilities we have never imagined." The final scene of the Recognition War took place on Earth, where former Supreme Chancellor Vexthul visited the human homeworld as part of a cultural exchange program. He walked through a simple park in New York City, watching human children play in conditions that would have killed most of his species. "I still do not understand," he said to Dr. Foster, who was serving as his guide. "Your world seemed so peaceful. Where is the constant danger that made you so strong?" Dr. Foster smiled and pointed to the children playing on the swings. "Watch them. They are learning to balance, to coordinate their movements, to take calculated risks. Every day they face new challenges and find new ways to off.